But we have this sort of notion here, I think, in the West, that we need this huge range of foods, the Stop and Shop or Save Easy group of foods, or else we're not going to make it. And yet, people all around the world have very limited diets and are totally fine. Yeah, I think lots of people have done the experiment where you don't really feel like eating what's in front of you. And so you say, okay, well, I'll just wait. So you wait 3 hours, you go off and do something, and then you come back, and suddenly, that bowl of rice that before really looked like a bunch of squirming maggots and like totally unappetizing, now looks like the most delicious thing you've ever seen. Except it's a little drier and more crusty because it's been sitting around. And I'm sure that's how lots of the world manages to choke down like limited diets just from hunger. So we don't need that huge range of food that we have, and we live very, very well as far as that kind of thing goes, except for a lot of the food is processed and filled with cardboard. But so that's our food, and I do think that the food, clothing, and shelter is important. Not so much clothing depending on the climate, and not so much shelter depending on the climate. It's really nice to be in Thailand and just be able to wear shorts and a t-shirt all the time, so you're not going through as much fabric. Whereas here on the land, I wear a long sleeve shirt and long pants all the time to keep the bugs off of me and from biting and all that. And the only time, there'd be no insects by late fall. So I could wear shorts and a t-shirt in late fall. Thanks. And then I'm freezing to death. And so we need a certain amount of clothes. And we need a certain amount of food. And we don't need enough food to waste, which is something that we do all the time now. We, we say, well, I don't really feel like eating that. My ex-girlfriend used to say we would have leftovers and we would eat them sometimes for the next meal. And then sometimes she would say, like, I just don't feel like eating that right now. So, well, it's going to go bad. Yeah, but, I feel like eating something else. So, who cares? I guess you shouldn't have made it or kept it then, because what else would be the purpose of keeping this if you weren't going to eat it? And it's not really about you and your wishes and your tastes or whatever. It's also about what else is going to happen to this thing if you don't eat it, if you throw it away. So that's our food question or whatever. Clothing, like the culture is rife with clothing, and everybody is throwing it away constantly. And they're throwing away new clothes, or they're throwing away very worn clothes. I got a shirt that I used to wear on the land all the time, but I popped off too many buttons from working with it. But it was like this one. It was like a polyester shirt, and my friend was a smoker, so it had like a few holes in it. But this shirt was virtually intact, and like I said before, will be here long after the human society is gone. And so, our clothing really, if you just go to your friend's place, who's relatively your size or whatever, and you ask them for their throwaway clothing, then that will probably supply you for the clothing you'll need for the rest of your life. And shelter, I want something more than a toolbox, but I don't want much of a mansion. And this place, this cabin actually is bigger than what I really need it to be. And I have accumulated junk. And many people have told me before that they say, well, you're not materialistic. And I say, well, that's not true at all. I'm actually extremely materialistic. But I don't believe that my materialist strivings can be satisfied at the shops. Like, really, it's more satisfied at the dump. And so when I'm rooting around in the dumpsters in Winnipeg, and I see right on top of one of the dumpsters 4 solar lights, like those little things that people stick in their yard. Like, these are solar panels. These charge batteries for you. Or you can run a device directly from solar. And you can join enough of these together that you could cover your entire roof with them if you had enough of them. And you're throwing them away now when running out of oil. And everybody has these little lights in their yard now, and all those lights are headed to the dumpster. My friend Anne gave me one, and I told her, yeah, I'll take it, and I'll use the solar cell, I'll do something with it. And she said, well, the rest of them are working fine. And then I was there, and I said, where are the other ones? She said, oh, they all died, and I threw them away. I said, but you gave me one, so you knew that I wanted them. say, well, they were old, and it's like, no, there's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. The battery gets old or whatever. It doesn't charge as well. So you put a new battery in and you're set to go. Or use it as a device without a battery. I made a solar panel about that big from just a series of those that sit on top of those little rechargeable solar lights. And so I'm materialistic in that way. So I have kind of junk or whatever I'm going to put in this cabin. I have my coffee table that I made years ago, and that has, I guess, some slight sentimental value. And so I'm reluctant to break it up for firewood, I guess. In King Lear, there's a line is I always slightly misread it because I think it should read "reck not the need," as in reckon. So reck not the need. The basest beggars and the poorest sing superfluous, and which I think is true. The absolute essentials of existence are very well taken care of in our society, and more than taken care of.